What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Everybody say hi to Mr. Gomi. He's fairly knocked out for the evening, but we're here for a little bit. I'm Josh with American Gnome Productions. Hey, there it is. Uh, Came out with a lot of, without a bunch of pauses. Like the stream title says, I'm fucking tired tonight. I've been under a lot of fucking stress lately. Um, but I'm here. I've got a few things lined up for us tonight. I don't know, like we'll take it as we go. But I have a few things that I found online that might be interesting to watch. So, let's slide right into it. Let's see. Do we want to watch The Gaming Historian? Do we want to do something from Rad King first? Nexpo? Or you know what? To give you an idea of some of the other games that that I'm into and whatnot. I do like MMOs. I've played. I was there when the Deep Magic was written with World of Warcraft. I slid into Rift after I was fairly done with World of Warcraft. I think I made it to level 80 on both of those games. I enjoyed the PvP in Rift a lot more than I did World of Warcraft. Although WoW is where I cut my teeth. Rift, I think, had better PvP maps. I remember I was playing Rift, and there was an achievement you can get for I think making it to one of the capture points, like within the first minute of match play. And when I first saw the thing, it said, I thought at first it said Andale, like, like just some other word for hurry. And then later I was thinking about this, like, I was like, God damn it, that says on delay. So yeah, the improper way to pronounce that is Andale, but it's really Andale. Andale, yipa, Andale. Sorry, that tells you how old I am. With Speedy Gonzalez and his much cooler, much more composed cousin Slowpoke Rodriguez. Yeah, I'm old. So let me get. Let's see. We want to go to TV room, and yes. All right, so we're gonna check out just to start things off. I am not sure how long I'm gonna be on stream tonight. I've been yawning for a while. Like I passed out earlier tonight. I've got coffee as usual. I live off of coffee. That's my stimulant in life. That and a high-strung woman that I fucking adore and only want to see happy. But those are my only two stimulants in this world. I'm a fairly low-key individual until the real anxiety or something really fucking gets me upset and the adrenaline starts flowing, and then like I fucking flip my shit. Not violently. I just like, like my brain stops working correctly until my anger and anxiety levels go back fucking down. It's different when I'm in when it's when you're fighting. I was in martial arts for many years. In fighting, like everything, like yeah, of course you're scared, but everything kind of fucking slows down or falls by the wayside when you're trying to motherfucking keep some motherfucker from hurting the fuck out of you. So I'm generally a low-key person, and I try to stay that way. Like Bruce Lee says, be like water. Alright, so since I'm letting this do its thing, we can... The game looks really good. And if it's... I believe this is NC Soft. And, yeah, that looks really good. I mean, it looks like everything else. Looks like, actually reminds me a little bit of Final Fantasy and Black Desert Online. Of course, I didn't fucking get my fucking dab before I fucking started eating. I mean, it looks really good. I am... Well, I don't know if I'm a Soulsborne guy. Because I've never really played those games. I was a PC guy, and those are mainly console games. And as you guys know, I do like a challenge, but like I don't like to be purposely fucking made to be fucking super angry just trying to fucking play a game. But I mean, this looks really good. We'll watch, there's a couple of videos on this. This is Throne and Liberty, guys. Look at that, man. Fuck. That is a siege monster if I've ever fucking seen one. Yeah, I'm gonna have to restart that because I didn't even fucking pay attention. Wasting motherfucking... Oh. Miss Ashante got her presents for Valentine's Day. I got her flower, a new binger with a owl on the front, which is her totem. And I think it glows in the dark. It's a little binger, about straight shot, inline, just a tube, glass on glass, and and the flower that I stuck in it was blueberry Skittles, and a teddy bear, and she was happy. Oh. Alright, let's internal beta test, director's preview, full version.
안녕하세요.
Yeah.
NC소프트 김택진입니다.
Yeah, it is NC.
MMORPG를 좋아하는 TL을 소개하려고 합니다. MMORPG는 정답이 없는 게임입니다. 출발점은 모두 동일하지만 누군가는 보고 싶은 것을 위해 세상 저 너머로 여행을 떠나고 누군가는 세상의 정점이 되고 싶다는 목표로 집단을 만들기도 하며 누군가는 가지고
Turn
싶은
that off
것을
so
위해
you guys
꿈을
can see
쫓아가고
the actual text.
누군가는 다른 사람과 이야기 나누는 시간을 즐기기도 합니다. 누구든 자기만의 방식으로 다양한 이야기를 만들고 즐길 수 있는 세계. 바로 이런 자유가 제가 MMORPG를 좋아하는 이유예요. 그런 세상이 TL입니다. 배틀 커뮤니티를 기반으로 한 전투와 경쟁으로 이루어진 드럼. 한계를 살아있는 월드에서 모험과 하는 리버티. 그리고 국가와 세대를 초월하여 우리 모두 함께하는 엔드까지. TL의 리버티는 모두가 즐길 수 있는 플랫폼을 향한 이런 TL의 특징을 가장 잘 표현하고 즐길 수 있는 플랫폼이 PC와 콘솔이라 생각합니다. 모바일에서는 느낄 수 없는 MMO만의 가치와 감성이 PC와 콘솔에서 살아날 수 있다고 믿습니다. 그럼 지금부터 TL의 세상을 정식으로 여러분들께
안녕하세요. TL 캠프의 PC입니다. 리버티는 TL의 세계를 구성하는 근간입니다. 리버티라는 뿌리에서 시작해서 사람들이 얽히고 설켜 스론이라는 꽃이 피는 것이 TL이 그리는 세계입니다. 월드는 게임의 가장 핵심적인 요소이자 시작입니다. 거대한 하나의 연결된 구조로 만들어진 월드가
Which has no boundaries, okay.
사람과 세계를 단절시키지 않고 서로
I'll hold
끊임없이
you to that.
작용하게 해주는 토대입니다. 보통 지하 던전이라고 하면 입구와 던전이 분리되고 던전 안에서도 여러 층으로 분리된 공간으로 구성하는 경우가 많은데 저희는 그 모든 공간을 하나로 연결했습니다. 단번에 던전의 마지막 층으로 이동할 수도 서로 다른 층에 있는 유저들에게 도움을 줄 수도
I like Final Fantasy XIV. It's just
던전의 앞과 밖, 위와 아래가 연결됨으로써 공간적인 경험을 모두가 공유하게 됩니다. 그리고 단순히 필드를 뛰어다니는 것만이 아니라 입체적으로
sometimes it's a bit
자신만의
tedious
루트를
for
만들어갈 수
me.
있습니다.
And I think that's why, like, in the main, I get bored with MMOs
같이 생활하면서
because things get
사회를
tedious.
구성하고 그 안에서 스스로의 존재감을 찾아가는 것이 MMO의
And I like more snappy. Like, don't get me wrong, I like slow burn stuff. Just just like any other person. I watch analog horror, which is essentially slow burn. But not when things get tedious and fucking like a chore to do, or more like a job than it is a game, which happens in a lot of MMOs, unfortunately.
다양한 선택지를 제공할 수 있게 합니다. 환경 변화에 따라 지형의 형태가 달라질 수도 있고 생명체들의 생태에
I played ESO in the beginning.
그리고
The very beginning, I even when I was playing, I even had a test monkey companion pet because I was in the original test pool for that game. It sucked really bad in the very beginning. It turned out to be a really good game, but it's still not really my cup of tea. I think my ideal game is somewhere between Skyrim, Final Fantasy, and a little bit of Guild Wars, even though I don't really play that game, and that it doesn't really, like, in the way it looks, and like, some of the things that game brings.
시점을 초월하는 이야기를 직접 플레이로 경험하면서 이 세계에 등장하는 수많은 인물들 그리고 그들의 이야기를 알게 되고 이를 통해 이
I don't know,
세계를
man.
더 현실감 있게
You gotta give me a
느끼는
game that's really worth fucking investing my time in. I liked Rift because it fixed some of the issues that World of Warcraft had, including the PvP. But it had like its raids and its this dungeons and everything. Like it was familiar enough to be comfortable. I mean, I know it was a clone, sure, but it was still different enough for me to really like that game. I like Final Fantasy XIV for the sheer enormity of some of the environments, especially in the flying department. I'll say this. Some of the best fulfillment as far as story goes has come from Final Fantasy XIV. With the dragons and everything, when you had to fucking do with the whole demon soul or the dragon souls and the eyes and all that stuff, that whole expansion right before the new ones came out, that was one of the best expansions that I've ever played through, hands down. It was great, and I hope this comes to the table with stuff like that. I want to, like a lot of games, I just want to feel like a hero in a world of people like myself. Like, we're not all the stars, we're stars, you know what I'm saying? We're one of the stars in the heavens, not the star, we're not the sun of the game, like we make parts of the game happen, and the world should really like the world should react to what the players do. Even when it's stupid things, especially when it's stupid things, when you do some shit that like I don't know, let's take for instance, if somebody was allowed to destroy like a mountainside, or like just destroy something major. It doesn't even have to be like immediately important. It could be like a mountainside. You could just be fucking around, testing out your powers, and you fucking knock off the side of a mountain, be on your merry way, and about 3.5, 4 days later, like things start coming out of the mountain, or lava comes out of the mountain and fucking destroys the town downstream, or causes some kind of major eruption. Or you might get lucky and you can go back and recover resources from that mountain. There's all kinds of stuff. The environment should be, it should definitely be reactionary in some senses. I would like to affect my world, and it not be a major expansion yielding, or like something that leads to an expansion, or some ridiculously stupidly long quest that eventually turns into a raid that, unless you have raid fucking available, you're not ever going to be able to do. I hate that shit. Good job, you have da 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 da. Now, to complete, to finally take out the bad guy, you need 25 or 24 of your friends to go in and fucking do this, and then the item that I've been stringing you along as a promised reward for, then you might be able to get it if it drops. Or maybe it's a reward after you complete said raid. But it was the only time I've ever fucking completed a raid was Final Fantasy. Well, not the only time. I've been in raids in World of Warcraft and Rift, but those were significantly harder to get into, man. Like you like and fucking snobs in the games, like it made it even harder. And he's like, I just don't want to deal with it. That shit's hard as fuck anyway. And I've got to spend 8 hours of my day in this raid, just like not 8, maybe like 4, 5 hours, especially if people are fucking up all over the place, like you see in. I was watching Asman earlier tonight. One of his raids in Alduar in the hardcore mode, like in the new classic, Alduar. I don't want to deal with that. I don't. Like if I was part of a full force raiding team, like that was my job, and I got paid for it in game. Like like that shit. Like okay, fine, yeah. I mean, I still don't want you to talk to me like that. We're grown ass fucking people. You can talk to your fucking young ass friends like that, but dude, I'll just walk and y'all be minus motherfucker, and y'all can either finish it without me or, but it is upon the player to know the fight, to know your role in the fight. Like if you're a ranger, or a ranged DPS, your ass is squishy and you need to motherfucking do your job. Know where not to be, where to be, and listen to your raid boss. Like that guy usually does know the raid fairly well, unless all of you know this raid, and this is something you've been doing, and you can do this on autopilot, which has happened with me in a couple times. Like when like raids were popular, and you could just go in and like. Y'all aren't even talking to each other. Y'all are just like, you see everybody going where they need to go and setting up in the positions they were supposed to, and you're in your position and everything. You're like, all right, okay, I think we're gonna do this. And other times you're just like, this is boss 2, and we've been here for 4 hours, and hey, boss, my gear is all broken. It's gonna cost a couple thousand gold for me to, or not gold, or whatever, silver, whatever. But it's gonna cost me a penny to fucking fix my shit. So we need to fucking finish this now. I'm gonna go repair. I'll come back. We need to finish this now. Like it's been 5 hours. I'm very fucking tired. All right, so I hope this gives us something, because I want a really meaty, well-supported fucking MMO. And I'll be honest, man, like, I don't want to pay for it unless it's good. Like, you hear me? Like, if your game is worth the money, sure. But either give it to me for free and make me sub, or sell me the game and don't fucking try to fucking scrub me for any more money, unless I want to do something and I'll give you money. And chances are I willingly will. But I said, man, like $60, $70 for a fucking game. Plus, you want a subscription service where you really don't fucking update very fucking well, or your expansions are fucking like garbage, or your patches are garbage, or make more problem. Like, man, like this is why you have problems getting gamers to buy your shit now. I mean, sure, there's lots of fucking stupid people, and they're more born and come out of fucking middle school every day. But those are just new customers. they're still going to listen to us old fogies that either don't play it at all or be like, yo, got some issues. Or, yo, this game is fucking tight. That's an old fucking word right there. And, y'all gotta make it worth our fucking time. Let's look at the Eternal beta test. What is that? What was that fucking pomelo? Was it a pomelo? Some type of fucking tangerine or orange or something. It sucks that pick one, man. It sucks that WoW is no more in China. I feel for you, although I've never had trouble giving up a fucking like a character that I've worked on for years. Like I've never WoW. I had a lot of invested in Semi Kane. Wow, I still remember that character's name. Yeah. And then Hypa in Rift, I got her all the way to 80. I got my character in Final Fantasy all the way up to before the newest expansion. And I just I think I got into another game or something like that. I think I did. Got into a bunch of new games. I've got a fairly healthy Steam catalog. It's nothing big or anything like that, but I do have a number of Steam games that I need to pay some attention to. I enjoyed Wasteland 3 very much. I enjoyed Wasteland 2 very much. I enjoyed 3 more because I understood the concept of a team in an RPG more by that time. Like I didn't play team game or where you had your character plus a whole bunch of fucking other people in your party that you had to be super strict, turn-based RPGs. Not necessarily like Final Fantasy VII, which is where my brain started to go for a minute there, and it was like, no, that was Final Fantasy VII was the first time that I was okay with playing a turn-based RPG. I don't like turn-based, really. That shit's fucking, I don't have enough patience for it. But the character is not being so squishy, and I could actually see the 3D sprites and everything. I was like, alright, this is better. Nothing against Legend of Mana and the original Final Fantasy games. I just, it's bad enough that games back then were all sprites and shit, and everything was super, blobbish. But then you take it and you turn everything into fucking squares. And you're like, so those are supposed to be my characters, and it's squishy, 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 squishy across the fucking screen in square, in straight lines. It didn't appeal to me. But playing Wasteland 2 gave me that squad-based feeling. I've played a few other squad-based. I'm just not really a squad-based person. I prefer the one-man army, or if you have a companion that they have AI that at least keeps them from fucking dying every fucking 4 seconds. But otherwise, I would rather just not. Unless it's an exploration game like Fallout or everything or something. Like a lot of times, it's better to have a companion. But as far as squad combat, it's just weird to have to manage everybody all at once, and it's not just about your one character; it's about your whole team working together. And one of the first mistakes I made in Wasteland 2 was like giving all my characters the same motherfucking abilities. Not just the combat abilities, but like, engineering and lockpicking and science and medicine and first aid. Like, no, you don't need to give everybody all the skills, but most people should have healing skills. Yeah, everybody needs to have some healing skills. Okay, so that was the internal beta test, and we director's preview. We saw that. This one, like I've been through. That's really nice. I mean, they're all really beautiful, but they look. It does look bog standard for that. Although that I do like fucking things in the sky, so that'd be cool. Yeah, it's reminiscent of some Skyrim. Like I want to climb that and see what's at the fucking top. Is there a pickaxe at the top? Like whatever. Um, that's cool. Magic, like shit like this gets more impressive every day. But oh, that's nice. Need to do some work on this though. It still looks a little bit rough. Um, yeah, it looks pretty good. This looks really fucking cool. I'm very interested to see what this is about. Yeah. So there's siege warfare going on. Rain on your camera. Look at that. That's pretty cool. So a sand shark looking type thing. Or no, is that a crocodile? Looks like it has three. Okay, so that's sort of like a basilisk type thing or something like that. That looks pretty cool. Or in Diablo Immortal, they have these sand shredder type things that are fucking surfing through the sand. Maybe it's like that. That's really nice. Again, bog standard for most photorealistic MMOs. Yeah, that's pretty cool. What was that? I'm not a fan of all the fucking the. There's a term for these. These things, these things. I forget what they're called. I used to make them in Photoshop all the fucking time. Solar flares or something like that. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. This is so fucking distracting. Why is there fucking three fucking... That's pretty cool. Yep. I remember when I believe it was Elder Scrolls Online, but I remember when the beta test closed, they had something like this too. Yeah, that's more likely something that I would do. Ranged with bow and two-handed in close. Oh, whoa, that's nice. Definitely reminiscent of Markarth and a couple places in Final Fantasy that are like this, but that's really cool. Yeah. Alright. So we're done with that. Oh. Oh, that's nice. So the unstoppable force meets the immovable object. That's very nice. These are all a bit bright for my tastes, but yeah, that looks pretty good. And that looks like somebody I know. It's like my buddy's dad. That's pretty cool. It's okay. That's definitely too bright for the phone screen. Yeah, I'll probably get this one. Yeah. All right. Next up, strange sounds from 96.7 FM by Nextwell. Oh, and by the way, I'll put up a link to the website for Throne in Liberty, so you can look it yourself. I hope it comes out soon. Oh yeah, and The Mouth of Madness is free on YouTube right now, which is one of the best Lovecraftian movies to come out. Sam Neill, everyone, and there's another actor in there that's fucking really good. It's gonna bother me, so let's. Yeah, I finished. I was watching the other Jürgen Prochnow. I mean, one of the best reasons to watch this. Well, Charlton Heston is in this movie. It's a good movie. Check it out. And also put in a link for Nexpos.
From the span of October 2017 to June 2018, a bizarre phenomenon was taking place around the city of Portland on the radio frequency 96.7.
Say hi, buddy.
At that time,
No.
listeners from around the city began picking up a
Right there,
plethora of
buddy.
distorted sounds that
Oh,
were
good
building up
boy.
a broadcast hack.
With you,
The audio was described as containing strange ambient buzzing, intermixed with speech recordings from both MLK and JFK, respectively.
My baby.
Today, the station operates ordinarily, broadcasting a mixture of rap and hip-hop under the designation 96.7 The Numbers. All seems fine now, but back then, this odd occurrence baffled many, leaving them perplexed and
Do you wanna come up here?
as to who actually was doing this,
Hmm?
and what it really was that they were listening to. Tonight, we're diving into the mystery of the strange sounds from 96.7 FM. Road trip. January 6th of 2018 would be the day that
He's
two
sitting,
users
or he's laying on my pants, so I can't get up right now because
in a niche little subreddit for a suburb outside the city.
I'm in my long johns, and y'all don't need to see that.
Posts that we want to get into.
It's happened before. You know, like I was just jump something in long johns, but still nobody needs to see anybody in the long johns.
At both 8:11 and 8:13 p.m., they'd inquired on if anyone's heard the strange audio that was, at that time, playing on 96.7 FM. While both are notable, Bajian gave a bit more context than theirs, so let's give that one a read. Tune in to 96.7 if you're near Progress Ridge. Some weird shit's going on. Sitting in the car with friends, tune to 96.7 and hearing weird repeating sounds and sometimes random people talking or saying random things. The sounds get more bassy and less bassy, with some strange frequencies interrupting other ones. Someone please explain this. In a response by a user named The Little Noise, they claim that they too have heard the same. For a period of 5 months now, I've been haunted by the sounds of this radio station.
This right here?
I can only imagine that others have picked up on it.
Originally it's an incense boat.
Right. I've uploaded specific YouTube.
My mom had this before before she gave it to me, when she quit smoking. She had this for like 40 years.
I really am spooked by the number station.
It used to look a lot nicer. It had and all kinds of designs on the inside and everything. It's yeah.
Below this, they linked a video that we'll come back to.
This is my flower dish.
January 10th of 2018, a deleted user would jump into the Thinking Sideways subreddits, wondering the same thing. Did I record some kind of number station? Recorded this off FM radio, January 6th of 2017 at about 6:30 p.m. The radio station's not officially listed. It went on in this weird pattern for several.
At least for me.
Playing some white noise type tone for hours and hours on end, with no.
I don't smoke nearly as much,
that I've never heard of.
like in
the next day,
volume as I used to.
And something that maybe could be called.
But I still smoke in like
and whirring sounds.
as frequently as I
sound.
used to.
Any
It's something that never changes. I like to smoke when I'm
April 6th of 2018.
fuck, I like to smoke when I'm doing anything.
The Portland subreddit.
As long as it doesn't involve me operating complicated machinery or like involve like being responsible for somebody's life.
Was driving home from PDX today.
You know, yeah, sure. Like, you know, smoke a fucking bowl before we fucking do this fucking extremely fucking annoying, taxing, tedious, or just fucking lame ass fucking activity.
For as long as 2006. Can you guys help me solve the mystery behind who runs it and why they broadcast what they do? At this point, you'll notice that the time span for this strange phenomenon encompasses an extremely large window
Because
of time.
most of the time,
That would effectively rule out
you notice, like, when you're actively occupied by something that is engaging, you don't think about
was
smoking.
happening was widespread and didn't seem to bear.
It just doesn't cross your mind. Like, when you're done, you sit down finally, or when you stop to take a break for something, then you think about it. Oh, I need a cigarette, or I need to smoke a fucking bowl, or I need to smoke a J.
Let's have a listen.
Alright, that sounded weird.
32 of this radio station, 96.7 FM. It's doing this again.
We leave Olive Garden.
And I bet as soon as we leave, we're gonna go eat, just like yesterday. It's not gonna be doing this anymore.
And it's not even the same time of day either.
Yeah, because we went. It was like
It's like 5:30.
5:30, and now it's you can't see it because it's back this way in the next one. It's 12:45.
Yeah, baby.
Oh, stop. Boo!
Handles the countdown as the launch vehicle begins to build up. We're now hitting the 4-minute mark. 4 minutes and counting. We are go to Apollo 11. We'll go on an
Apollo.
automatic
It's the
sequence
Apollo.
starting at
What?
3 minutes and 7 seconds. The engines that generate that thrust combined horsepower equal
What?
543 jet fighter planes.
I'm having more fun listening to this than being on like YouTube or anything else.
That would freak me out. It's a creeping noise.
Now this sounds like something broadcasted straight out of a horror movie, but we have to remember that this wasn't fictional. This was real life, being observed on a legitimate radio station over the span of months. Any sort of edgy teenager or shitposter broadcasting out of their home for a bit of a prank seems ill-considered, as it's safe to assume that for such a long period of time, they'd be caught. Furthermore, you might be drawing parallels between this and the widely known WKCR broadcast hijacking that occurred back in the 90s. If we can recall, the overarching consensus for why that happened was simply chalked up to a prank by the station MC over at Columbia University. While that's possible with 96.7, let's take a look at what we have to work with so far and see where we can head with it. A quick note on radio station call signs and their legalities. Every station you listen to on the radio is designated something called a call sign. These are typically 4 letters in length and can be anything. KZRY, KRBE, ABCD, anything. These are licensed out by the United States Federal Communications Commission, and typically, the application process for these is competitive and drawn out. To be granted a license, you need to have a specific purpose and adhere to it for as long as you're on the air to keep your license valid. Furthermore, there are 2 types of radio stations, high-powered and low-powered. The former are typically the ones you listen to when you dial into your favorite station. They're usually backed by a large corporation that has the money to spend on broadcast antennas and the power to drive them across the city. Low-powered stations, on the other hand, which are denoted by LP after their call signs, are typically able to be licensed out on the same frequency as the high-powered ones. However, their reach is much less, usually only a couple miles in length. These utilize designated radio towers and are typically popular with independent parties and non-profit organizations. Now, with Radio 101 under our belts, we can recall that in that last video, we heard a low-powered call sign.
KZRYLP, Portland.
Performing a search on this reveals that this one is now defunct, but at one point was active on the broadcast frequency, 96.7. If this Facebook post is anything to go by, then we can deduce that on August 29th of 2018, it was changed from KZRY to a KNUM LP. Oddly, digging into the latter, at least on numerous FCC information websites, reveals that the KNUM radio call sign is licensed out to, of all things, a non-profit organization by the name of the Community Alliance of Tenants. The address for their organization, even more strangely, directs you to a Lutheran church. So what in the world do these people have to do with this? According to their official website, the Community Alliance of Tenants, or CATS, is a tenant membership organization. Low-income tenants, predominantly low-wage workers, families with children, people living with disabilities, seniors, and people of color are CAT's primary membership base. CAT's building a strong housing justice movement that's led and directed by those who are most impacted by Oregon's affordable housing crisis, low-income renters. I'm not sure about you, but I'm scratching my head here. Why in the world would the Community Alliance of Tenants, a non-profit aimed at assisting renters, be wrapped up in broadcasts depicting eerie ambient noises when they have absolutely nothing to do with this type of genre at all? Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. If we observe the dates here, we'll notice that many of the posts and videos range as far back as 2017 to mid-2018. After June, there isn't much of anything that I've found that inquires on any sort of bizarre sounds on the radio. Seeing as the call sign was changed in August of that year, maybe,
What are all these
just
teriyaki
maybe, it
restaurants?
was previously licensed by someone else.
What? This is crazy.
So, KZRY LP. Interestingly, the vast majority of records about this call sign point us to KNUM. However, there was one document I found that had it, and it was an official FCC application from mid-2017. Scrolling through it reveals the call sign designations for a plethora of stations around the nation, but midway down, on line 22, we're able to observe that KZRY LP was, in fact, licensed out to the Community Alliance of Tenants. Digging even further back into the abyss, I was able to conjure up evidence that CAT applied for this as far back as 2013, meaning they've sat on it for the better part of the decade. In a news article from a website called Radio World, dated at September 22nd of 2014, they claim the following. Listeners in and to the northeast of Portland, Oregon, soon should be hearing a new low-powered FM station that promotes affordable and safe rental housing. The FCC has issued a construction permit to the Community Alliance of Tenants. The Alliance, formed in 1996, is a tenant rights organization. CAT educates, organizes, and develops the leadership of low-income tenants to directly challenge unjust housing policies and practices. It's stated in its application. Our mission is to educate and empower tenants to demand affordable, stable, and safe rental homes. We address the impact Oregon's decreasing supply of decent, affordable housing and absence of meaningful tenant protections has on low-income tenants. Alliance President Michelle Lasley wrote in the application that radio would be a valued and welcome tool for outreach, serving as an extension of our existing programs. The station will air at 96.7 FM. The Alliance was one of 4 applicants listed by the FCC as mutually exclusive for this particular low-powered FM slot near Portland. The Alliance wrote in a subsequent filing that 2 of the other applications had been dismissed, while the 4th, Opal Environmental Justice Oregon, had relocated in a concurrent application. Alright, so as much as I'd like to consider the possibility of this not being CATS, I'm having an extremely difficult time discounting that theory. While a hack is possible, in that recording from the Little Norsk, the station outright states their call sign, KZRY LP. It seems to me that every lead I've gotten on this case has been leading me straight back to the same place. The Community Alliance of Tenants. In a last-ditch effort at getting some information, I dug up their radio station email from one of their applications, along with those of the actual board of directors. Hopefully someone that works there can give me some sort of lead, or anything, on where I can steer this investigation. On the night of November 22nd, I took a shot in the dark and wrote the following. Good morning. Apologies for bothering you all. This is a bit of an unconventional email. I was reaching out to inquire on a situation that occurred from roughly November 2017 to June 2018. The radio station registered to your organization, KNUM-LP, formerly KZRY-LP, at numerous times, broadcasting an assortment of bizarre sounds intermixed with MLK, JFK speeches, and audio from the Apollo landing. An example I found is here, and yet another with the call sign KZRY mentioned at 6 minutes into the video, and a third for good measure. I've done a bit of digging on this in hopes of ruling out the possibility of it being interference or not from you guys. However, the call I mentioned in the second example is difficult for me to overlook. I'm sure there's some sort of mundane explanation for the reasoning behind it. However, if you guys would be willing to provide any information as to the reason behind this, I feel that we could put this mystery to bed for good. I look forward to hearing back. Thanks, and I hope you have a great one. And 1 night later, I received a response. Hi Ryan. Yes, this was owned by people. We're unaware of any interference. Thank you. Katrina. Interesting. If I'm being honest, something about the wording here stood out to me as a bit hasty. She seemed to show no interest, posed no questions, or displayed any shock as to why someone would be broadcasting eerily distorted noises on their frequency, while concurrently using a call sign that they're paying money to license.
Hope everybody's
If
doing
it were
well.
me, I'd be, at the very least, slightly
Hope everyone
awed
had a
by
good
the fact that my
Valentine's Day.
organization would be associated with such a bizarre phenomenon. To each their own, I guess.
Or at the very least successful in your endeavor today.
And so the hunt continued. While
This is my first time watching this, by the way, so.
Stumbling upon a notable article in the New York Times. On January 6th of 2018, they published a story about low-power radio stations across the United States. Although I wasn't expecting to find anything notable, they did state something that effectively stood out to me. It reads the following. Washington has the second highest concentration of low-powered FM stations among the nation's 15 most populous states, with 68 stations for 7.4 million people. According to the FCC, second only to Florida. New York, by contrast, has 54 stations, but nearly 3 times Washington's population. Oregon,
the end of the
while
night.
not among the 15 most populous states, with 4.1 million people, is even more saturated than Washington. It has 80 low-power stations.
I'm not trying to eat again
Most in rural areas.
until I wake up tomorrow.
You want weird? Just turn the dial.
So my
One
stomach is a little bit
station in
empty.
Seattle invites listeners to phone their dreams and fantasies into a recorded line.
Smoking flower,
Russian-speaking
so
residents in Portland, Oregon,
it's more
have their own time station.
agitated.
And if you want to be charmed by a 5-year-old boy fighting with his father at bedtime about dinosaurs, music, and
It's
his sometimes
agitating
bothersome
my
sisters,
lungs.
you can find that at Tristan's Bedtime Radio
That's why I usually
Hour,
try to
broadcast
stay
on
with
Sunday nights
Debs
on KFBG,
or
Northwest Seattle,
a
where
pen
Tristan lives. It
or
also streams on the
something
web.
of that variety. So I can
So
cut
this
out the
article
fucking,
drives home 2 things.
the Bernie stuff, because I smoke
One,
enough cigarettes.
that Oregon contains
I'm
the
trying to
highest
cut that
density
out.
of
That's
low-power
why I
FM radio stations
smoke
in
these
the United States.
as much as I can.
And 2, that these are no stranger to being weird, broadcasting anything from Russian news to bedtime stories by a 5-year-old. While this isn't anything conclusive towards Cat themselves, it's led me to 2 theories. Something I'd like to float here is the possibility of an unlicensed broadcast. This is a phenomenon that's been fairly common over the years and carries with it strict fines that range anywhere from $10,000 to $75,000 per day that the broadcast is occurring. We've been focusing on Cat this entire time. However, we haven't yet considered the potential of this being some random, unlicensed third party that's hijacked their frequency. If we're assuming that the email I received from Katrina is legitimate, then Cat could very well have been oblivious to all of this. Now, to be frank, this is a bit of a reach. Someone broadcasting strange noises on your station over a miles-long radius is something that's close to impossible to overlook, especially considering the substantial span of time in which it took place. There would have to be someone, anyone in that organization that would have caught wind of this if they weren't involved, which, in my opinion, makes this conjecture hard to believe. So let's pivot here and hone in on cats. On Reddit, a user named I Want to Believe considered the potential of this being executed by the organization. In a reply to one of the 96.7 threads, they claim the following. I also did quite a bit of research. I drove up to the broadcast location for KXMG, and it's not them broadcasting. I've been doing some drive testing to confirm, and it makes sense that parts of the Progress Ridge and the Murray Hill area would be getting better signal from Rocky Buttes than other parts of Beaverton closer to the West Hills due to shadowing. Not to mention the KZRY-LP call sign that they're broadcasting. This type of stunting is fairly common on low-powered stations from what I read. X-Ray even did some of this stuff when they were turning up to get attention. Now we're making sense. If we can recall, the New York Times article stated that independent parties are able to broadcast on low-powered stations and that they're no stranger to being outlandish. We were given examples of the plethora of different content that we can tune into, and it's a safe bet that Cat could have also done this. But why? At the end of that Reddit comments, I Want to Believe claimed that another station executed a weird stunt for attention. Cat, in this case, could easily be doing the same in hopes of drumming up an audience for their otherwise ordinary day-to-day show. If you're some random person scanning through the radio, then it's safe to assume that you'll more than likely stumble upon this bizarre transmission that would ordinarily be discussing something related to tenant rights in Oregon. Those sounds could have been taking place during their off hours, giving them, at the very least, something to pad out the time to keep them on the air while concurrently luring curious minds to tune back into it later. Still not convinced? Check this out. In an article from their official website dated at May 14th of 2019, they announced a peculiar partnership. Interesting. So if according to that Reddit comments, X-Ray's previously done this, and Cat launched a partnership with X-Ray, who's to say that this phenomenon isn't their brainchild? To be frank, this all seems like a ruse to direct people to their organization. A strange and unorthodox ruse, but something that seems like it might have worked after all. If I'm being honest, I think it's Cats. I really think it's Cats. The call sign, the decades-long license, and the fact that pretty much every lead took me straight back to them is impossible to overlook. Occam's razor states that the simplest answer is typically the correct one, and in this case, it seems like that just might ring true. Throughout 2018, people around Portland tuned into 96.7 and were met with a mixture of odd sounds. The mystery that they subsequently went down has admittedly been a fun one, and while we may never definitively know the who or the why behind this, the conclusions that we arrived at least for me, are satisfactory enough to put this mystery to bed. While the Community Alliance of Tenants denies any sort of involvement, considering their collaboration with X-Ray, every lead pointing back to them, and the call sign being read aloud in that recording, it's safe to say, and I don't mean to bag on Katrina because she actually took the effort to respond to me, that the email response that I received was either her truly having no knowledge of this, or simply giving me a lie. Either way, the phenomenon since halted. Today, if you're in the area and tune in, you'll most likely be met with a new rap station that launched in late 2018. I don't know about you, but personally, I prefer to listen to that. It's less spooky that way. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. I love you all. And good night.
If you haven't already, go on over to Nexpo's channel. He's got so much good stuff. Yeah, I'm already subbed to him. Make sure you join and sub to that guy. So that was that one. Crap. I should, no. Yeah. So put that one at the end because I've already. But I want to be able to put the link in the description for it. Okay. No. Okay. Yeah, that's. Wait. All right. All right. Whatever. Yeah. This is only 20 minutes. Okay. We'll watch this.
Welcome, fellow children
and
of
then
Adam. I have an important message. Something many of
and
you
then
have
we'll
seen firsthand.
we'll log into
Have
Dark
you
and
really
Darker
seen
because
what
I've
is
still got
happening in the depths of the Institute.
this is the last day, so I definitely want to play before the alpha test
for their nefarious purposes.
closes.
The flesh and bone androids that abduct people and infiltrate groups. Let's take a look at the dark heart of this nefarious process and reveal the total nightmare that is synth creation. Just a heads up, I'm going to have fun with this. I will call out lore throughout. Starting at a higher level before we get really up close and specific, there is an important issue just with how this is all set up. This area holds some of the most advanced technology and methods in the entire wasteland, starting with some bones and ending with a fully functional, synthetic, organic robot. Amidst this wonder of technical innovation, we have most folks walking around with nothing more than a lab coat, like this person here. No gloves, no mask, no hairnet, just a lab coat. A few of them have slightly better PPE. This looks like some sort of coverall, and he is actually wearing gloves. But again, there is no head or face cover. So what, Rat King? What's the big deal here? Well, in some of the most advanced labs in our world, where all our precious microchips are manufactured, enormous care is put into keeping a clean environment for the manufacture of them. Since one speck of dust can ruin a chip, or humid air can destroy an entire wafer. Clean rooms look like this, and the people that work in those clean rooms look like this. The Institute is not making semiconductor microchips. Not here, they're not. They are doing something even more advanced than we have in our world.
Yeah.
They are building fully synthetic organic robots. This includes computing, locomotion, sensory information. Everything that we are able to do with our bodies, they are replicating with fully synthetic organics and programming. This is a level of technology that we aren't even close to on almost any level. And that's not a dig at our bleeding edge tech. That stuff is nothing short of a scientific miracle. What I am saying, though, is that the Wasteland's most advanced tech has nowhere near the kind of considerations that our most advanced requires. And in Fallout, it is much more futuristic. I mean, look at my Soul Survivor. I just walked into the place where the most advanced robots are made. Ate a sweet roll right here near this boiling stuff. Brushed some dust off my shoulder near whatever this thing is, and accidentally brushed up against this. Well, I sure hope that synth turns out alright. This is not even considering the complete lack of safety measures. Like there isn't even some sort of rail to keep me from walking back into the boiling skin juice. Also, watch this frame just drip synth juice all over the walkway as it's placed in the starting station. It's a good thing the nukes took out OSHA, because they would have just fallen over dead if they saw this place. The real meat here, though, is in the actual process, not whether or not McDonald's has a higher standard of PPE than the Institute. The synth creation process is comprised of 4 main steps, and are all placed very nicely for easy viewing. The first station is the skeletal station, where there are 2 robotic arms that grab a number of bones and place them on a frame. The frame actually seems like a good idea, although we only ever see one frame. I'm sure that multiple frames could exist to make different body types and sizes. Bones are placed from the feet up. Some bones are grouped together, like all the foot bones or hand bones, and some are actually split in half. like the rib cage
And there's an
and
organ,
even the
isn't it?
skull that gets placed in two halves, clamshell style. I never took anatomy, but I'm sure there are no problems with either of those things. Once the legs and spine have been placed, these four small injectors inject into, let me check my notes, the buttock region. Now, the only reason I say that these are small is because there is this absolute beast of an injector that goes straight into the spine, somehow not damaging or displacing any vertebrae, and they start pumping in something. I don't actually know what it could be, but whatever it is, it causes a heart, a full-sized and functioning heart, to inflate in the chest cavity and to start growing arteries and veins outward from the heart towards the legs, arms, and head. Did an entire heart and cardiovascular system just get squeezed out of these injectors? What in Adam's name is going on here? However this works, the bones are now hooked up to a cardiovascular system, which I've heard is important, and there is a full heart, just like hanging there in the ribcage. After a quick inspection, we go to the next station, and I assure you, this gets more bizarre as we go. Station 2 is the tissue station, and true to its word, this is where we get a lot of tissue. The skeleton with a heart is placed in the second station, and the robotic arms get to work. Just like the previous station, we have 4 small injectors and 1 huge one. I mean, seriously, what is the gauge of this thing? Nothing isn't a needle, it's an elephant spear. The robotic arms also have several injectors, but it seems like the robotic injectors and static ones in the back do different things.
Mm-hmm.
Starting again at the feet, the robotic injectors begin printing, stitching, growing. I have no idea what exactly it is that they are doing.
It's
But whatever
probably
it is,
3D
they are
printers in
doing
there.
it blazing fast. All the required muscles, tendons, ligaments, and really all the musculoskeletal tissue is stitched together. But also there seems to be a layer of veins that are laid down first before the muscles in order to supply them with blood. While this is happening, the injectors in the back are busy injecting gut smoothie into the body cavity. Just watch those organs grow. That liver just inflated like a freaking balloon. Is it weird that I think that these full-sized organs getting squeezed through a bunch of pipes and through an injector can then expand many times their size and in the perfect spot in the body is just as impressive as an organic brain computer? I really hope no one accidentally stands on one of these pipes and the lungs or something keep from getting slurped into place.
I mean,
Now
if you
look, we can
extrapolate
nitpick this
from
thing to
3D
death,
printing, this
and
is what
I'm
you
not
get.
really interested in that. But I do have to mention a few things. One, I don't know how any of the tissue on the back of the body is placed by the robotic arms. It seems like an extra step to rotate the body to place all the extra tissue on the back wouldn't be all that troublesome. What is troublesome, however, is that we never see the brain or the eyes, or really anything with the head put in place. Is all this part of the gut goop that is injected with all the other organs? How is the synth component, which is the only inorganic part of the synth, put into the brain? I can't help but think the brain would need its own implantation. Extracting a bad brain or synth component seems like it would be much more troublesome than a faulty kidney. And I just had to point this out. At this point, the synth has no skin, but has eyelids. Eyelids are made of an uncommon kind of skin that has no subcutaneous fat layer. So they are literally just super thin flaps of skin. This dude's got cartilage eyelids or something. I also think it's kind of neat to see when the skeletal model is removed, leaving behind just the muscle model. There are large red vats behind the station that presumably contain synthetic blood, something that is spoken of in one of the terminals in this area, since they are actually looking to implement a new kind of blood that will increase clotting ability and decrease infection. I actually thought that synths did not have to worry about disease and infections, but this would suggest otherwise. Most of the body at this point is assembled, like some sort of Hellraiser demon, but it's not yet alive. But the next station will remedy that. Picking up and placing the frame in the third spot, called the neurological station, would seem to imply that maybe this is where the synth gets a brain, but no. The 4 small injectors and the telephone pole-sized injector once again stab into the body. And how these things aren't just absolutely wrecking all the precision-placed muscles, bones, and or organs is just beyond me. But this time they don't appear to be injecting anything. Although it is certainly possible that they are, and we just can't see it behind all the muscles. What is very evident, however, is that the assistants of the robotic arms that seem to be able to do everything begin to administer several electrical shocks in a few places. This causes the muscles to contract, shake, and writhe, as everything seems to come alive. A very nice touch is that the previously dark and dully colored muscles suddenly flush with color, becoming a more lively red, indicating that they are receiving blood flow as the body's systems are shocked into life. After this true Frankenstein moment, the body can be seen moving methodically, heaving back and forth, looking a lot like breathing, even though the chest itself doesn't seem to be expanding. Luckily, none of that electricity caused the eyes to open, because that would have been a bit disturbing, but this synth is now officially alive. Those of you with a perception level of 9 or higher will notice, however, that there seems to be something off here. The synth currently lacks the largest organ of the entire body, its skin. The robotic system inspects its work and picks up the frame to put it in its final destination, the epidermal suffusion station. Plain speak, this is where the synth, who is fully alive and apparently breathing, gets its skin, and oh boy, is it a process. That big roiling pit in the center is the final destination, and the now live synth is lowered down into it. Let me repeat. A live, breathing synth is lowered down into a pool of skin broth like we're about to color an Easter egg. Using the power of technology, we can actually watch this highly scientific and amazing process take place. And, oh, what the heck? I think we just witnessed the synth spring into being ex nihilo. The synth remains in this brine for an uncomfortable length of time. I mean, how long has to go by before the lifeguard throws a floaty? Is this like the ultimate test of whether the synth process was successful? If it can't or won't stand up and breathe air, then it just drowns in there? Can you imagine coming into existence as a fully formed adult in a boiling vat of skin and immediately have to figure out how to get out of it? But to be fair, I am no scientist. Maybe the first program to be run in the synth operating system is calmlystandup.exe. But once they do stand up, behold, the miracle of science. Behold, behold, I say, this last step, this epidermal suffusion, has certainly done its job, covering the synth head to toe with skin of unparalleled complexion. But that is truly not all. Not only does it give the synth skin, but hair, and best of all, a pair of whitey tighties. This truly is the golden age of science, where we can make a perfectly serviceable and mildly used pair of underwear out of synth soup. Now, of course, this is only because Bethesda can't show us actual nudity. That would upset the Entertainment Software Ratings Board and the sensibilities of decent folk everywhere. It's kind of funny to think, though, that underwear is somehow part of the synth body. Like, Father was such a prude, he couldn't let the synths walk around packing. No matter how long you stay and watch this process, you only see the exact same synth get created each time. We know that synths can represent any race or sex, and I would assume those physical traits would be implemented during the synth creation process. But how hilarious would it be if this is how all synths first start out? Then they go to a different part of the Institute and get a complete makeover. It is possible that there is a synth whose looks are modified later on, and there are a few interesting bits that may allude to something like this. The synth lacks any color in hair or eyes. In fact, the white eyes almost make the synth look like they are blind at times. Maybe this can be explained by the body processes just starting, and they need some time to produce the melanin or other chemicals in order to change the skin, hair, or eye color to their intended colors. The more I think about this, the more I convince myself that this is actually how it happens, since the lack of eye and hair color is just really odd unless you consider a synth a blank slate that can be further modified. Now, we have seen some truly strange, horrifying, and silly things so far, but you are about to witness the worst of them all. Cast your gaze upon the true abomination of the Institute, the synthetic foot, formed by the hand of an uncaring and vengeful god. These vaguely foot-like hunks of bone and flesh seem to work well enough, but I mean, just look at them. These things make Barbie feet downright lifelike in comparison. Alright, I can't keep looking at these things, they're gonna make me sick. The synth slowly makes their way along this path, and is ushered by a Gen 2 synth to continue on to processing. Processing is apparently located in the electrical closet, because the synth then hunches over and squeezes into this super skinny and dark hall. I guess it's a good thing that the Institute programmed out claustrophobia. You know, I get it. The dimensions of the door are to keep the player character from following the synth on its journey to become a labor slave. But couldn't that have been done in a way that didn't make it look like the synth is on his way to Narnia? So that is the production process from kind of the beginning to kind of the end. We don't really see where the bones and other parts are made that make up synths. Maybe those roving groups of Gen 1s and 2s on the surface are picking up bones around the Commonwealth, because it seems like you can't go 10 feet without running into a skeleton. Likely, though, the Institute is growing them in a similarly unsafe, unsanitary, and completely unnecessary method at some other part of the Institute.
I mean,
The only
if
other
you have all
interesting
that
aspect of this
technology, you
whole
probably
process that
could
we've never touched
fucking
on is the quality
resurrect
assurance.
fucking anybody
I mean,
you
what
want,
exactly
especially if
does
they turn
happen
into like a
if the
blank
synth
slate.
that is
Like,
created is so defective that it can't even navigate to processing, or maybe even get out of the vat of skin sludge. Looking around the various stations, there are several workbenches with a number of tools, cauterizers, spanners, ear examiners, and many more that give the impression that they are used to inspect synths at any point in the process. Maybe if a synth exhibits behavior that would be problematic, the scientists that don't seem to be doing anything except get in the way of the machines would then pull it aside and do some evaluations. They really should, at the very least, test a certain number from each batch, since that is standard quality control procedure for modern mass production methods. We know for a fact that they are produced in batches, as a terminal specifically shows that orders can be placed for synths, where the number and type of work they will be performing is needed and subsequently scheduled for production. As much as I would love to delve into the specifics of quality assurance, it actually brings me to a point that I wanted to make. What do they do with synths that are defective? Well, some terminals give us a bit of insight, since maintenance is also a part of the robotics division responsibilities. In one example, one synth develops blurred vision in one eye that is unable to be corrected without permanent damage, and that unit is indefinitely reassigned to facilities fated to mop the floors of the Institute for eternity, unable to see if they actually mopped up that smudge on the floor, what is otherwise known as the 8th ring of hell in Dante's Inferno. So the Institute will try and find some way to use even defective units. But what happens when they produce one that is just so defective it can't be used for anything? Something that may or may not be related to the fact that I warmed my bum for a bit in the toasty skin stew. The Institute would, of course, not bury the synth. They are seen as machines and utilized as such. There is a good chance they would try and recycle as much of the body as possible, since the synth production process consumes a great deal of energy and materials, both of which the Institute is in constant need of. I haven't seen any recycling bins. Could it mean? No, surely not. You know, I just need to check something real quick. Let's go down to the cafeteria, buy a scrumptious brick of assigned nutrition, and before I dig in, let's look at the ingredients real quick. Gotta watch those carbs, you know what I mean? Let's see. Isoleucine, L-lysine, leucine, methoiodine, cysteine. Oh no. Do you know what most of these are? Amino acids. Do you know what you are made of? Amino acids. Do you know what synths are made of? Hopes and dreams. Just kidding. Amino acids. Suspicions confirmed. Gen 3 synths are recycled, alright. Recycled right through your digestive tract. It's no wonder why father has cancer and everyone around here is a synth abusing lunatic. they've all been infected with mad synth disease. I hate to say this, but I guess Maxim was right. I hope you enjoyed this tour of the synth creation process and that you had a good time. Thank you to my patrons. These faithful followers of Adam ensure a spot in his kingdom by donating to his cause. If that is something you would like, you can donate.
I thought I was already
and even
subscribed to
join my
Red
Discord.
King, but
Links in the
okay.
description. Stay strong. Take care of yourselves. And I'll see you soon.
Okay. And how long is this one? This one's half an hour. Because I'm gonna finish the because I'm gonna finish the night off on Dark and Darker. So let's check out the Super Mario Brothers movie by Gaming Historian. This video is really fucking old. But it's got like 2.3 million views, so like it should be at least good.
Siskel and Ebert called it one of the worst. Siskel and Ebert called it one of the worst films of 1993. It cost $48 million.
I liked it. I thought it was weird and had nothing to do with the game.
The Super Mario
But it vaguely did, so you're like, yeah, okay, alright, fine. I thought it was good.
The game
I thought it was
franchise
good.
was a huge success. It made sense to bring that magic to the big screen.
And I had just seen Roger Rabbit, so Bob Hoskins was in my,
In
like,
recent years, several actors who worked on the film
I knew of him, and I thought he was a good actor, so, like, I was excited. And then John Leguizamo, like, he was on cable forever when I was young.
Disliked. Sometimes the story behind a movie is better than the movie itself, and that's definitely the case with the Super Mario Brothers movie. Let's take a look. The Super Mario Brothers movie seemed like a safe bet. After 3 successful games on the Nintendo Entertainment System, and a highly anticipated release on the Super Nintendo, the franchise was a critical and commercial hit. Mario was one of the most recognizable video game characters of all time. The success carried over to merchandise, cereal, and a cartoon series. There was even a movie, but it wasn't live action. Super Mario Brothers: The Great Mission to Rescue Princess Peach was a Japanese animated film released in 1986. It was one of the first movies based on a video game, but it never saw release outside of Japan. A major motion picture seemed like the next logical step. Hollywood's biggest producers saw an opportunity in Super Mario Brothers and were willing to pay up. Offers poured into Nintendo in the $5 to $10 million range. But for Nintendo, it wasn't about the money. They didn't need it. Critics panned Nintendo's first foray into movies, the 1989 film The Wizard, for being a 96-minute Nintendo commercial. This time around, they wanted to find the best fit, hoping to not repeat past mistakes. In the fall of 1990, Nintendo shocked just about everyone when they gave away the movie rights for just $2 million. And who they sold it to was even more surprising. A small production company known as Leitmotiv, led by independent filmmakers Jake Eberts and Roland Joffe. Although the pair wasn't exactly known for making family-friendly films, their resume was impressive. They were best known for the 1984 film The Killing Fields, about the genocide of 2 million people in Cambodia. The film won 3 Oscars and was nominated for 7. Eberts and Joffe saw potential in Super Mario Bros., not as a way to show off their creativity and bring their vision of the Mushroom Kingdom to life, but as a way to bring in cash to their small studio and become full-time producers. During the pitch to Nintendo president Hiroshi Yamauchi, Joffe imagined a prequel story with an edge, one that would appeal to adults as well as kids. He sweetened the deal by offering something the bigger movie studios wouldn't, some creative control, and all the merchandising rights. Nintendo saw the whole idea as little more than an experiment. In their eyes, the Mario franchise was too big to fail. Yamauchi also liked Joffe's vision of a gritty film. It seemed like a win-win. Nintendo could be in the loop, and Eberts and Joffe would get the movie rights at a huge discount. What could go wrong? With input from Nintendo, Eberts and Joffe got to work assembling a team. The most important question being, who would play Mario? It seemed as though fortune was on their side when Dustin Hoffman expressed interest in the lead role. He just won his second Academy Award and had a great reputation for his roles in The Graduate.
Do have a question though. So obviously, I mean, you can do movie reviews and shit like that and watch movies, but you'd have to fucking blur out this and that and everything, and I'm just don't have the time and energy to fucking do all that shit yet. If you guys were interested, like I can probably host privately on the Gnomish review on my Discord, and we can watch stuff there, because I can always stream YouTube stuff there as well. But I think it might be less of a problem. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into it, because I'm obviously not trying to get paid for fucking for showing this stuff for you guys. But like movie like there's some movies that are free on YouTube as long as you have premium. And I don't know. A comment and or if you get this and like share some ideas of what you think should do, because I've got a number of options and platforms to do this from, and then I've also heard in the wind that there's also a new platform called Kick. I'm not really fucking into gambling and stuff like that, so like there'll be none of that, but I'm not unfamiliar with Wild West environments. That's where I grew up. Here's another sign of my age. I used to be on a community program. It was like a whole different application called SoulSeek, and it was a chat program and also a file sharing program. Like the earliest of the early. Like I think this was either out before or right about the same time that LimeWire and what's the other one? The one that got burned by fucking Metallica and fucking lost all their fans for that one. But yeah, those guys. And Morpheus was another one. But SoulSeek, in my opinion, was the best, because it was not necessarily you could, okay, so unlike regular file sharing programs where it was very fucking impersonal and you just find what you're looking for and you do the whole peer-to-peer thing and you get your file and you be on your way, and possibly if you're a good soul, you would keep that your download up and sharing so that other people could get those from you. But that's just a regular good practice that you should always do when you're on programs like that. But unlike the regular file sharing programs, like you were essentially, you had chat rooms and lobbies and in community rooms where you could make friends, and once you trusted each other and had found common interest, you could start sharing your files, or you could just go into the channel be like, yeah, I'm free to share, like go ahead, and that's where, I mean, besides message boards early on in my career, like SoulSeek was where I found my first good anime. You know what I'm saying? Stuff that you couldn't find here, or if it was here, you had to buy from subscription services, or catalogs, where you would literally have to fucking have them shipped to you. And don't get me wrong, I did order like that, but man, once I found file sharing and being able to get an entire series, and not have to fucking go down to Suncoast and spend $150 for said series, man. And you know, I still went down to Suncoast. I still bought some stuff like from there, but like, you know, like, yo, I'm not paying $50 for this set of episodes. I don't care how nice the box looks. I don't care. About the mangas and stuff. I used to have, like, I went to Europe when I was like 15, 16, and it was right when Dragon Ball Z was popular in Japan and Europe, or just after. Like, it was definitely popular in Europe because there were posters and TV shows and comic, like mangas, like traditional mangas, but in French, everywhere. And I remember getting Dragon Ball, the entire fucking thing of Dragon Ball, in like a compendium type thing. And boy, we ain't got shit on the rest of the world as far as, like, you know, what they show in comic books. They you know, what we do over here is more akin to smut anyway. But over there, violence is, like, you know, like like uh, they'd rather show nudity, and they're more okay with showing nudity than they are showing violence and shit like that. Traditionally, I don't know if things have changed, but it's definitely that way now. So, I mean, like, you know, Japan's a little bit different, because, like, their horror again beats out our horror on the most part. Again, we have some good horror. Don't get me wrong, but man, the Japanese have some. The Japanese have horror that is, and not just the Japanese, but the Koreans too. They have horror that, like, wow. I have a fairly strong stomach, except when it comes to very realistic depictions of gushing human blood. Like, you know, like, and I don't like getting my fucking blood drawn or anything like that, because, like, my inner monkey is like, yes, monkey, the blood does belong in our veins, but unfortunately the good lady needs to take some so they can make sure that we're okay. Just relax, man. Relax. We'll get a cookie at the cookie. Yes, we'll go get some cookies. Cookie. Cookie. So, but I really don't. But, like, there's an episode of Beavis and Butthead. Like, I think this is one of the first times that I realized that I have like a thing with that kind of shit. And Beavis fucking, like, he takes a pencil and fucking, like, I think he fucking like slams it in Butthead's fucking or no, Butthead takes the pencil and slams it into Beavis's fucking, like, a hand, and he starts freaking out and fucking, like, or and Butthead slams his head and his fucking nose fucking starts fucking, oh dude. And it was so gratuitous. Like, I was just like, and it's weird because it's not everything. Like, there are movies where, like, I'm just like, all right, that's pretty fucked up, but that's pretty cool. Like Korean horror flicks, man. They have some stuff, but the Japanese, they really have it on the horror, the existential horror. They like their Call of Cthulhu as much as we do, but there are a lot of things that there's a lot of commonalities between Americans, not just Westerners, but Americans, that we have some commonalities and some shared, like, traits and the way we do things. They overwork themselves just as much as we do, and that goes like it. There are a lot of things that we share, a lot of similarities, and one of them is exploring and I mean not reveling, but definitely expounding on existential dread. I think you know we're especially good at it. I mean, everybody can be good at existential dread, but I think we have a particular taste for it, and so do the Japanese. Just with just everything, it just oozes that intellectual awareness that things are really fucked up in life. Just really fucked up. You don't need demons and fucking ghosts and supernatural horrors to see the worst that this world has to offer. Okay, diatribe over. I probably lost the original thread from talking about Super Mario Brothers, but yeah, let's continue.
Rain Man, and All the President's Men. Jaffe was ecstatic when he heard the news, but Nintendo of America president Minoru Arakawa wasn't. He didn't think Hoffman was the right man for the job, so they turned him down. Their next choice was Danny DeVito, whose star was rising after successful roles in Twins and War of the Roses. He was also the actor who most closely resembled Mario. However, DeVito wanted to read the script before signing on, and he eventually turned it down. Following that rejection, Leitmotiv reached out to Tom Hanks, and he actually agreed to play Mario. He was set to take the role for $5 million, but before he signed the contract, Nintendo and the producers got cold feet. At the time, Tom Hanks was in a bit of a slump. The Burbs in 1989 and Joe vs. the Volcano in 1990 received mixed reviews, and The Bonfire of the Vanities, which also came out in 1990, was just bad. Entertainment Weekly called it one of the most indecently bad movies of the year. So for a very short time, Tom Hanks' stock was down. Nintendo and the producers worried that Tom Hanks wasn't worth $5 million and didn't have the it factor to carry a dramatic movie. Tom Hanks had already starred in huge movies like Splash, Big, and Turner and Hooch.
I think he probably would have made a good Luigi. If you think about it, him with a mustache probably would have made a decent Luigi. Tom Hanks was a good actor even back then. Turner and Hooch
received an Academy Award nomination for his starring role in Big, but until that point,
and
he was
Big.
really only known for his comedic roles. They wanted the Super Mario Brothers movie to be dark and gritty. They worried that Tom...
Okay, what about Mazes and Monsters? I mean, that was pretty fucking dark and gritty, even for a fucking scare porn about D&D.
Hanks couldn't handle it. So, before Hanks could sign anything, Nintendo and the producers pulled the offer. They discovered their error pretty quickly. In 1993, the same year that the Super Mario Bros. Movie debuted at the box office,
Philadelphia.
Tom Hanks starred in the groundbreaking film Philadelphia. He received an Oscar for his performance as a closeted gay man who eventually dies of AIDS. After rejecting Dustin Hoffman and Tom Hanks, and getting rejected by Danny DeVito, Leitmotiv finally found the man for the job, British actor Bob Hoskins. They were impressed by his range. He'd received an Oscar nomination for his dramatic role in the 1986 film Mona Lisa, and was fresh off a successful leading role in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Bob Hoskins accepted the role primarily for the money, but he also thought the initial script was good. He didn't even know the Super Mario Brothers movie was based on a video game until after he accepted the role. His son filled him in. Soon after Bob Hoskins signed on, John Leguizamo took the role of Luigi. At the time, Leguizamo was so sure the Super Mario Brothers movie would be a success that when a major TV network offered to develop a sitcom about his life, he turned them down. He thought he was too good for TV. For the role of Koopa, the producers needed a steely villain. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Michael Keaton were both offered the part, but they declined. Ultimately, Dennis Hopper, whose lengthy acting career included parts in Apocalypse Now and Hoosiers, landed the role. Samantha Mathis, who went on to appear in American Psycho and The Punisher, played Princess Daisy. But if there's one thing more important than getting the right actors, it's getting the right directors and writers. And that's where the Super Mario Bros. Movie went spiraling out of control.
Huh.
After Nintendo and Leitmotiv struck their movie deal, Roland Joffe hired Greg Beeman as director. Beeman was still a relatively new director. He had just one film under his belt, the 1988 comedy License to Drive, starring Corey Haim and Corey Feldman.
I remember
Meanwhile,
that.
Barry Morrow, who had just won an Oscar for the screenplay to Rain Man, worked on the script.
I think I saw it on
Morrow
cable.
played Super Mario Bros. For a day, and afterward crafted a mythical story that revolved around a complex relationship between two brothers. But the story was too dark, and too similar to Rain Man. Morrow didn't appreciate the feedback. He dropped out and passed writing duties off to two newcomers, Jim Genuine and Tom S. Parker. The pair were up and coming in the world of Hollywood writing. They had just sold a script that would become the 1992 movie Stay Tuned.
Watched that the other night, one part of it.
And were looking for more work. In their script, the Lizard King Koopa kidnaps Luigi's love interest, Hildy, so he can gain access to the Crown of Invincibility. Mario, Luigi, and their sidekick Toad set off to rescue her. It was a simple fantasy plot, and it closely resembled the actual games. The script contained references to Goombas, Thwomps, Bob-ombs, Chain Chomps, and even the Hammer Brothers. Meanwhile, Leitmotiv Studios sought funding for the film. However, distributors were hesitant to pay up with newbie Greg Beeman as director. Roland Joffe let him go, saying Beeman, quote, didn't have the stretch for it. Joffe sought out a new director, and he eventually settled on a husband and wife duo, Annabelle Jankel and Rocky Morton. Jankel and Morton didn't have a ton of big screen experience. They'd only directed one movie, a 1988 thriller called DOA. It starred Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan and received mixed reviews. But the couple had a fresh, innovative style, and their work was impressive. They directed music videos for Elvis Costello, Miles Davis, and the Talking Heads, and they've done some major commercials. But what really set them apart was Max Headroom, 20 Minutes into the Future, a TV movie that ran on Channel 4 in the UK. The futuristic show featured an actor made to look like a computer-generated TV host. Max Headroom was weird and edgy. It had a very defiant, early MTV vibe. They created Max Headroom along with screenwriter George Stone and directed the
Dab is easier that way.
The idea eventually became a TV show in the UK and the United States. Their style seemed like a good match for the producer's vision of a darker, more adult-skewed Mario.
I don't feel like getting up.
When Jankel and Morton read Genuine and Parker's fairy tale script, they hated it, but they saw potential in a Super Mario Bros. Movie. Morton turned to Jankel and said, "This script is terrible, but I think this could be our Batman." To bring their vision to life, Jankel and Morton hired Chicago-based writers Parker Bennett and Terry Runt, whose only claim to fame was the odd dark comedy Mystery Date, starring Ethan Hawke. Bennett and Runt kept the same basic plot from the fairy tale script, but gave it a sci-fi twist. Nintendo was somewhat concerned about the direction the movie was heading, but to their surprise, they actually enjoyed the new script. It looked as if all the puzzles that is, until directors Annabelle Jankel and Rocky Morton stepped in. Even with the sci-fi element, the directors felt the new script was too boring. They thought it needed bumping up. The pair wanted to create a parallel universe where dinosaurs survived and evolved. The dinosaur land, called Dino Hatton, would be ruled by the evil King Koopa. Mario and Luigi would access the universe via a portal in the New York sewer system. With that direction, Bennett and Runt took another crack.
Why couldn't they
at the
just
script.
be denizens
Their second
of
version included the Dino Hatton element,
that
plus a
universe?
Mario character that closely resembled the mix of humor and sleaze that Bill Murray brought to his role in Ghostbusters. But once Bob Hoskins signed on, the character was reworked to be older and more appealing. Bennett and Runt worked quickly to revise the script, but they didn't work fast enough for those in charge. Bennett and Runt were fired. The directors replaced them with Dick Clement and Ian LaFrenne. Together they created a more action-heavy script. It was so action-packed that the initial script even called for a Bruce Willis cameo, but Nintendo and the producers thought that version was a little over the top, so the writers toned it down. Everyone was happy. For about a minute. Distributors thought the script was too dark. Then the producers got cold feet. They worried that the script, which at this point all the actors had signed on for and the directors approved of, strayed too far from the video games. To solve this, the producers hired new writers to revise the script even further, but with one condition. The directors were forbidden to work with the writers. To the producers, it seemed like the only way to save the script from overbearing directors. But to the directors, it was a slap in the face. Writers Ed Solomon, known for his work on the Bill and Ted movies, and Ryan Rowe were called in to doctor the existing script. They added more Disney-friendly elements, like a wedding for Mario and his girlfriend Daniela. They also lightened up some of the more serious scenes and toned down some budget-busting ideas.
This game
When Jenkel and Morton saw
literally
the
has a
script,
giant
they almost walked out.
dragon
But they had
turtle
already come so far. The set was
kidnapping
designed
a
by
princess.
David Snyder, who is known for his work
So there's
on
already
Blade Runner.
domestic
All of
violence.
the actors were on board.
Like,
The project even had solid
how this story
Disney's
made it
Hollywood
into a
Pictures
video game
agreed
is
to that
beyond
with
my
them.
ken in the first
The
place.
directors felt they had no choice. Jenkel and
No,
Morton
just
stuck
joking.
around,
But
hoping
like the
to
movie,
steer the
man,
movie
like
filming
what are
to
you
match
like?
their vision. In the summer of
That's just
1992,
rough. Like I
production
can see
started
why
in an
people say
abandoned
this was a
cement factory
disappointment.
in Castlehane, North Carolina, just outside of Wilmington. It was time to film the Super Mario Brothers movie.
I would have made them denizens of the parallel dimension. Be like, yo,
When the actors arrived on
we're
set
just
the
regular
following week
people, and we
received
stumble
new
upon a
scripts,
fucking
they
plot
were
to fucking
stunned. It was
whatever,
completely different than
whatever.
the script they were pitched. They expressed their displeasure to the producers, who incredibly brought Parker Bennett and Terry Runt back out to help revise the script yet again, as well as consult on set. It was a frustrating process, made even worse by a lack of communication between the producers and actors. The sweltering heat didn't help either, as temperatures shot above 90 degrees in the humid North Carolina summer. But the cast and crew did have one thing uniting them: a common enemy, directors Rocky Morton and Annabelle Jankel. In early August of 1992, with production underway, freelance journalist Richard Staten captured the on-set turmoil in an article for the Los Angeles Times. He wrote that the cast and crew were so unhappy with the directors that they'd begun mocking the couple. They gave them nicknames. Rockabelle, a combination of their first names, was the most flattering. They also called them Rocky and Annabelle, the Flying Squirrel Show, and Hydra.
Damn.
Hoskins summed them up in perhaps the least flattering way when he told John Leguizamo, "Not all English people are like that. He's a and she's a cow." He would later say that Rocky and Annabelle's arrogance had been mistaken for talent. Bob Hoskins wasn't the only one who was frustrated, and he definitely wasn't the only one to talk openly about it. Dennis Hopper said that Rocky Morton and Annabelle Jankel were, quote, control freaks, and wouldn't talk to each other before they made decisions. The directors contradicted one another on a regular basis, which made it harder for people to perform their jobs. But no behind-the-scenes anecdote illustrates the on-set atmosphere as well as a now infamous story about Rocky Morton, an extra, and a cup of hot coffee. According to John Leguizamo, Morton was looking at the extras on set and was not happy with what he saw. He thought the coffee looked too pristine. He grabbed a coffee and poured it all over one of the extras. The actor was wearing a rubber mask, but it wasn't sealed at the neck, so the hot coffee seeped through the suit and burned him. The man screamed. Morton said, "Oh well, he's just an extra," and shrugged. Morton has since argued against Leguizamo's version of this story. He says that Leguizamo was too far away to see what really happened. According to Morton, he thought the costumes needed to be more dirty, so he picked up some mud from the set and chucked it onto an extra's costume, but it didn't stick. He thought some coffee would help make mud stick to the costume, so he picked up a cup that had been sitting around for a while and said to the extra, "I'm going to pour this on you to stick the mud on. Is that okay?" When he poured it on, the man screamed. Morton says he apologized and got cool water for the man's shoulder. At some point, maybe after this incident, the crew made t-shirts with all of the rude or dismissive comments that the directors made. And they didn't keep them tucked away in a closet. They actually wore them on set. The constant script rewrites made matters even worse. The script changed so much every day that the actors didn't see the point in reading the new copies. Dennis Hopper said, "The script had probably been rewritten 5 or 6 times by the time I arrived here. I don't really bother with it anymore. I just go in and do it scene by scene. I figure it's not going to hurt my character." Bob
Wow.
Hoskins had pretty much the same approach. He said, "All these rewrites get frustrating, so I don't do too much research." One scene originally called for strippers, which the crew hired locally in Wilmington, North Carolina. But when the producers got wind of this, they quickly changed the scene to dancing at a nightclub. The actors and the rest of the crew learned to take it one day at a time and to accept that the newest script would be a lot different than the one they signed up for, but it was a bitter pill to swallow. Fiona Shaw, who played Lena, was increasingly disenchanted.
And Harry Potter's mother, or stepmother. No, aunt, excuse me. Aunt in the movie series.
When she heard rumors of a scene where she and Dennis Hopper would sit in a mud bath filled with $3,000 worth of worms, she was disgusted. She said, "The first script I got was witty. That was maybe 10 scripts ago. Now they're talking about taking a bath with worms." But, as Leguizamo would later say, the worse the movie, the better the partying. The crew partied through their misery. Leguizamo and Hoskins actually did shots of scotch between shoots. One day, Leguizamo and Hoskins were drinking scotch when they were called in to shoot a stunt scene. The scene called for Luigi to drive the Mario Brothers van. Hoskins didn't show any signs that he'd been drinking, but Leguizamo definitely did. Challenging task. Their music videos and TV show were good, but it was a big leap to go from that to directing a $48
Yeah, they get a lot of
first
heat
its
for trying to
kind
do
big
things
budget video game movie.
like really
On
cool.
top of that, they weren't really allowed to do what they did best. The producers hired Jankel and Morton because the pair had a gritty, futuristic style. They were edgy and different. But when it came time to actually make the movie, the producers, the studio, and Nintendo got nervous. They pulled back. They wanted to make the movie more comedic, family-friendly, and a little less weird. And what they got was something in between. Morton called the project a harrowing experience. The script that he and Jankel wanted was more sophisticated than the final product, and that in the version they went for, the bond between the two brothers was a much bigger, more emotional part. But when the studio wanted something different, Jankel and Morton had little choice but to go along. It was tough. He said, "I had to stand by with the new script, obviously, and tell them that it was great, when I knew it wasn't." It was tough from a technical standpoint, too. They had a huge set, but not enough money to properly light it, and with the script constantly changing, continuity was nearly impossible. After a grueling 15 weeks in production, it was time to edit the film. But to Morton's surprise, the directors were locked out of the editing room, forbidden to intervene. They had to get help from the Directors Guild of America just to get in the room.
Oh,
Through
wow.
all the drama, somehow, a movie was filmed and edited. Nintendo knew the final product wouldn't be good, but they were still confident it would make a lot of money, thanks to the Mario brand. They were in for a rude awakening. The Super Mario Bros. Movie hit the box office in May of 1993. It bombed. Fans of the franchise were confused. They thought they'd be
It was
watching a
confusing.
movie that was bright and fun, an action-packed, family-friendly adventure. But the movie strayed pretty far from the beloved video games that inspired it. They got an entirely different plot. When a meteorite hit Earth 65 million years ago, it created a drab, parallel dimension which Princess Daisy wears around her neck. When Koopa's henchmen Iggy and Spike kidnap Daisy, Mario and Luigi set out to save her. The two plumbers enter an underground portal, where they are transported from Manhattan to Dino-Hatton, where they aim to save the princess and
God, that's a
defeat King
stupid
Koopa.
name.
Along the way, there are some weirdly adult scenes,
Yes.
some unsuccessful attempts at humor, and most of the time, it feels like the constant action sequences are just meant to distract from the Mario 3. There's even a character named Toad. Mario and Luigi are plumbers. though they may have hit that reference home a little too hard, and they eventually do wear their iconic red and green overalls. In trying to appeal to everyone, the movie appealed to no one, and the critics took notice.
A popular video game, it's called Super Mario
I
Bros. And it doesn't
don't
involve.
try. I don't.
Either high or low.
Siskel and Ebert,
It's not as dazzling or as involving as
sure,
video
some,
games.
you know, they had.
Traditional movie elements like compelling characters or a fresh story. I also can't figure out exactly what.
Not all their fucking critiques were right,
You look at the movie,
and
you see millions of dollars on the screen for special effects and all of those customized cars and that other world that they've created and everything else. And it
Look at
doesn't
those
add up to
artifacts,
anything.
man.
It's just a lot of people running around, all talking at once, in a plot that nobody cares anything about, and just every once in a while, a little moment that kind of
Talented cast, and the fact that the movie is visually stunning. But such compliments were usually brought back down to earth pretty quickly. In a mostly positive review, Janet Maslin of the New York Times noted that the plot turns barely comprehensible in its last half hour. The movie grossed just under $21 million on a $48 million budget. Just a few weeks after Super Mario Bros. Hit the box office, another dinosaur-filled movie made its debut, to much greater success. Over time, the Super Mario Bros. Movie developed a reputation as being notoriously bad. Even decades after it debuted, the key cast
I don't really agree. I mean, it's not fine art, but it's still a decent film.
After the in-depth LA Times article about the on-set turmoil, Jankel and Morton were dropped by their agent. The scripts stopped coming. They couldn't get meetings, and the phone stopped ringing. Said Morton, "Nobody wanted to touch us. We were like lepers in Hollywood. Still to this day, I have projects and I call up the managers and agents to try and represent it, and they say, 'You did Super Mario Brothers?' Oh God. It was like 20 years ago, but it's still there." What has been your biggest disappointment? Super Mario Brothers. If you could ask, what would you change? I wouldn't do Super Mario Brothers. Dennis Hopper felt the same way. By the end of his life, he'd spent 5 decades in the business and appeared in more than 100 movies. When Conan O'Brien asked him if he regretted being in any of them, Hopper didn't hesitate. He said, "I made a picture called Super Mario Brothers. My 6-year-old son at the time, he's now 18, he said, 'Dad, I think you're probably a pretty good actor, but why did you play that terrible guy King Koopa in Super Mario Brothers?' I said, 'Well, Henry, I did that so you could have shoes.' And he said, 'Dad, I don't need shoes that badly.'" This movie has developed a cult following.
It's always had one.
In 2014, it was released on Blu-ray in the United Kingdom. Websites like the Super Mario Bros. Movie Archive, which Ryan Haas started in 2007, deserve part of the credit for this shift in public opinion. The site is home to cast interviews, photos, and even contains some of the early draft scripts. Over time, Haas says he has seen the conversation about the movie evolve. People are more willing to reevaluate their initial thoughts on the movie. Through his interviews with the cast and crew, he sees that nowadays, a lot of people look back on the film and appreciate that what they were doing was unprecedented. But over time, we've seen a few video game adaptations hit the big screen. But most have been panned by critics, and their financial success varies significantly. Some say that the Super Mario Bros. Movie had a chilling effect on video game movie adaptations. But things are starting to change. In May of 2016, 23 years after the Super Mario Bros. Movie flopped, Nintendo announced that it was finally breaking back into the movie business. So what does this mean for the future? Well, it's hard to tell. If they can make a major hit, then Nintendo could pave the way for a slew of video game movie adaptations. But if the project bombs, then nothing will have changed. That's all for this episode of Gaming Historian. Thanks for watching.
Heck yeah.
Funding for Gaming Historian is provided in part by supporters on Patreon. Thank you.
Promise that we would end on shit.
In 2015, Retro Gamer magazine asked readers to list their top 10 video games for the magazine's 150 Greatest Games of All Time feature. Coming in at number 1 on almost 20% of all ballots was Super Mario World. It was a landslide victory, and for good reason. Super Mario World not only showed off the new bells and whistles of the Super Nintendo, it redefined what Super Mario games could be. The goal was no longer to get the high score and defeat Bowser. It was to explore an entirely new world, finding hidden paths and secret levels. Mario had an arsenal of new power-ups, moves, and friends. But above all, the game gave...
Yeah. Well, oh, I don't play this game very much, but all right, let's go ahead and do that. All right, let's do this. And I don't want to do the... Yeah, I don't think I have anything. Uh-oh. Is there... Oh, are we not allowed to do this anymore? I guess we're not playing that. Let's maybe... No. Okay, so this game is no longer... a game is no longer available. So... Okay, guys. Well, that's not gonna work, and I don't feel like doing anything else. So, you guys stay safe. Have a good day. Be safe. Be happy. Be healthy. And I'll see you in the next one.